And it's going to be a lot of bowl season talk in the future of this show, let me tell you.
Good.
Those lines are dropping.
What's that? Oh, shit. How much time, Mike? No, we're good. No, we're good. 7 watching, 7 thumbs.
Look at that. Look at that ratio.
Seriously. 8-8.
Lock it up.
Welcome in. Hope you had a great weekend. And when I say great, meaning you cashed a lot of tickets. I don't care if you had time with your kid or if you spent time with your family. I don't give a crap about that. I just care if you cashed tickets. Myself, Ben Rasa, Mike Awesemo producing. It's the Awesemo Betting Show on the Awesemo Odds channel. You're there. You're going to tell us what to lock it up on the chat after you hit the thumbs up and subscribe button. We have a Monday night football game to get to, Ben. And I can't wait to hear from you, tell us what you think about this game in the most outlandish way possible.
I cannot, some games it's like, okay, pretty big game, whatever. Like last night, that's a big game for the Broncos and the Chiefs. I wasn't super into it. I got this one circled. I cannot wait to see this game. Patriots, Bills. This is going to be fantastic. The weather all I heard about is the wind.
Yes.
That has affected the props. That has affected the total. It's certainly going to affect the game. This is going to be a fantastic one. It's a great game to break down from a betting standpoint. Really, really good. I'm excited on the Monday here.
All right. I can not wait as well because it's primetime football and the live betting element is going to be fantastic in this game, especially because so many people are predicting the win. So here's what I'll say, and you can clean up my mess that I'll begin with right now. This is going over. This is a high-scoring football game, and all of the concern and the sweat and the wimpy behavior leading, you're 30 miles per hour away. Nelson Aguilar's going for 65. Cole Beasley might break 100, and Stephon Diggs is going to have 2 touchdowns in the air.
So this does remind me, and I like that. That's what I'm talking about to get things started here, bringing the heat. I do think there's an element to this where it's like snow games. It's like, well, snow, forget it. It's going to be 0-0. Yes. And then they're running wild. They're running 80 yards up the field. I assume both these teams are smart enough to know, clearly the deep ball, I think will be affected. Field goals. I'm going to give you an alpha right now. If your book has a prop on longest field goals or number of field goals in the game, I think you should go under because they're not going to be kicking. They will go for it more often. So if you can find an over-under on field goals made in this game, hit the under. To me, that is a really sharp play tonight, given the situation. I wouldn't be stunned to see teams just say, we're not even going to attempt a field goal.
So, yeah, that's a great point, right?
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think there's a major difference between Josh Allen or Mac Jones being in 3rd and 12 and having to throw the football in wind versus you being 4th and 4 from your opponent's 40 or 38 and realizing that what's the point? You don't have Justin Tucker. You don't have an automatic leg there. Why do it and go for it? So, yeah, I could see both of our points being accurate to where the wind doesn't impact the passing game nearly as much as people believe it to be, but significantly impact the kicking game. Absolutely. I think that's a great call right there.
I think it's going to impact the kicking game. And I think not just that, more importantly than the kicking game, it impacts the mindset because coaches determine whether you kick or not. And if they view it as a serious threat, well, a couple of field goal attempts could be taken off the board for 4th conversions. Look at that, shop that. That is something I wanted to get out there right at the beginning before we dive into the game itself.
Under 47.5 is what I have here in PA. I'm laying 120 for it, but I'd lay that even if they're 10 to 15 mile per hour winds, let alone the 25 to 30 that we're hearing right here. 47.5, I'm taking the over if the weather is clear here, right? Okay. Like the weather, I think, is the bigger because I could see both offenses stalling. I could see a scenario where like Buffalo doesn't really have a running game outside of Josh Allen. So I could see New England's defense doing their job. I could also see Buffalo's defense making it difficult for Mac Jones and this offense in New England. And all of a sudden you see some risks taken. If it's 45 degrees and, sunny, but with no wind, then I'm pounding the over there because I think you have a really good opportunity for kickers to take advantage of that. But I'm with you here. I would go under 44.5 if I had that opportunity because of the wind.
Yeah, so I think clearly the win can impact some things, maybe longest receptions prop, things like that. I think all in all, though, these teams are going to know how to work it. They've got personnel, and one of the things, the big losses for the Bills is Tre'Davious White, and I'm not saying that it won't be felt tonight, but if passing is seriously impacted, maybe that's marginalized to an extent. And honestly, showdown, people are going to be talking about this guy a lot, of course, but I've been really impressed in the small times that I've seen Matt Breida out there. He has really brought some life and some juice to this Bills rushing attack, which never is super great with Singletary and Moss. Now they've got, ample options back there. They can do some things, and Josh Allen, of course, is an asset in itself. So I agree that these teams are going to be able to move the ball. It might not be 70-yard bombs, but at the same time, I think they're going to be very effective.
All right, my friend, let's jump into the game itself. You hear how we see this thing play out from a broad and really just as far as maybe a theme that has jumped out standpoint. And now the game itself. Are you are you okay with it going over? Or did you have a different feel on the total before you even hit a side? Because I'm going over here. I like that over total.
You definitely like it more than me, but if I had to bet it, I would bet the over. I think that both offenses, particularly the Bills, and let's get right to it. I like the Bills in the game. Not my strongest bet of all time, but I look at them. They're at home. 3-point favorites. If you shop around, Odd Chopper is going to be used throughout the show. Maybe we can find a 2.5 out there. That would be much better, of course. But regardless, if you're going to find 3, I just think that the Bills are an all-around better team right now. And you can say, well, look how good New England's been. New England's been fantastic, but I want to poke holes in some of these wins here. So let's go back. They crushed Carolina. Well, Carolina was using a rotation of Sam Darnold and PJ Walker in that game. Brutal. They crushed Cleveland. Nick Chubb was hurt. They shut out Atlanta. Obviously, no Calvin Ridley, and Atlanta's a mess. And then they beat up on a Tennessee team that had no Derrick Henry, no anybody at that point. So the Patriots are taking care of business, but they're also beating up on teams that are very, very injured. And I think the Bills offense will test them in some new ways tonight.
I can get, and of course, courtesy of Odd Shopper here, I go right on oddshopper.com and I see right away here, oh, wait a sec. I can get Buffalo -2.5 here in PA on a couple of books.
There you go.
I love
that. That's a go for me. You can find 2.5, put that in there. Like I said, I think the Bills offense, Josh Allen, one of the bigger games for them, and now it looks like it was a huge win. At the time, the Chiefs were really struggling, but I remember when the Bills played in Arrowhead. That was in week 5, 38-20 win. And the thing that I was struck by in that game was just how aggressive they were with Josh Allen on the ground. He had 11 carries in that game for 59 yards, and most of it was done early when it was in hand. And I could see Josh Allen today hitting double-digit carries, being really aggressive on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, I think it plays into what we've talked about with the wind, and it doesn't mean that every single play is 3 yards in a cloud of dust, but it does mean that teams come into this with a plan, with a game plan of adjustment and having, or at least being prepared to run the football more often. It may be the difference of a quick split second of a call because of the nature of how the game is being played out. And I go back to what I was saying earlier to your point just now about Allen. While you do have bodies back there, your best option will always be to run Allen first and foremost, even if that means putting him in a situation where he's moving a pocket or some sort of delayed design run with him.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think that most of these teams, from the Ravens with Lamar all the way down, they're somewhat selective in designed runs. And again, this entire season, Josh Allen has gone over 10 carries once, and it was at Kansas City in week 5, which I would argue was their biggest game so far. They don't run him against teams when the game is out of hand or when they don't need to. Against the Jets, they won 45-17. He had 3 yards rushing. Tonight is that type of night. This is as big of game as you're going to find for them. They have possibly, a passing attack that's going to be mitigated by the wind. Josh Allen, it's quickly rising. It was 34.5 this morning. Now I see 35.5 out there for his rushing yards. But I think that's how they attack. I know I said I like the Bills. You like the over. Do you have a side, or are you just kind of indifferent?
I don't have a side specifically
Okay.
on this, but I'm going to tail. I already did tail, and we'll get back to this as we hit some more parlays and build some stuff individually in the single game here with Odd Shopper. I don't personally have a side, but I'm easily swayed with you. I was kind of waiting to see if you had a side, but it makes sense because I wouldn't go over in a Patriots win. Like if I had the Patriots, if I had a strong play on the Patriots, then this is an under. Even at 41 and a half, it's still an under. That's how they stay in this game. But I can easily see a scenario where Buffalo scores, and that's the reason Patriots just aren't able to keep up in this particular game, which actually leads me to one side bet that I do like, and that's team total touchdowns. Again, this is predicated on my game script that I've built here with my over, like you've built with the Bills laying the 2.5, ideally 2.5. Over 2.5 touchdowns is even money. Total, that's team total touchdowns for Buffalo is even money. I don't see it, right? I mean, I don't see a scenario where the over hits and that doesn't hit.
So totally agree with that. And I'm going to add, and I'm going to tie in what I said at the beginning of the show. I think that you're going to see at least 1 or 2 drives tonight that would have ended in field goals, have the team go for it. And that's how you're going to, I think a large majority, a higher percentage of the Bills' points tonight will be from touchdowns than from field goals in a normal game. And it's because if the wind is if they're going the wrong way on that drive, there's just no possible way they're going to try a field goal. You can't kick like that. It would make no sense. So you're going to see the Bills have some extra touchdown equity just because of the weather. And I think that that's a factor if you think they can move the ball to take advantage of.
Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. We see some new eyes popping in here. We appreciate you hanging with us on the Awesemo Odds Show and the Awesemo Betting Channel. Still building the subscription base here. So not only hit that thumbs up button, but please make sure you're subscribed here as well. And let us know what you're locking up. Just follow the lead here. You see on the chat, you can scroll up. Saw Kevin Bloomfield lock the Bills -3 up before we even began the show. So we'll get to that at the end before we get out of here, including your own lock-it-ups. And as you know, it's never just specifically or strictly for the NFL. You can do whatever the hell you want when it comes to you out there locking it up. All right. Anything else? I mean, really, I think we've covered a lot with the game before we start to look at some player props here. Just don't want to, I want to make sure that we haven't missed anything else that's jumped out at you. You know, again, you can take full advantage of what we have going on at BetMGM, that risk-free bet on top of the 3 months you're going to get of Awesemo Plus Platinum. So if you like something specifically that you hear here, we'll go ahead and play it at BetMGM. From the side that you laid the 2.5, going over the total, BetMGM has it at 40.5 to the team total going over 2.5, the under longest field goal. I think we created a nice little early ticket here for this game.
I think we're certainly taking that showdown mentality, telling a story.
Yeah.
And that's what player props. I mean, I think it's perfect time to dive into them. Clearly, a lot of guys' player props are the books are shading them because of the wind. And I get that. So I think what we need to do, and what I tried to do, is separate, okay, will the wind have large, medium, little, no effect on each guy? And the first guy I want to ask you about is Cole Beasley.
Love it.
Cole Beasley right now, his props, receiving yards 30.5, receptions 3.5. I think if there's one guy in the Bills passing attack that's not affected by the weather, it would be Cole Beasley. He's running out of the slot. They're short targets. In the last 2 games, the guy's got 10 targets. He's got 9 receptions. He converts every target into a catch. I think that right now the books are shading for the wrong reason here. I like the over on both of these. When I go to Odd Shopper, as our man behind the glass, Mike, just pulled up, we love the over as a site. The X wins are really healthy. The ROI, all the things that Alex and the team of data scientists have baked right in here, totally free, by the way. Everything checks out. Do you like Cole Beasley as much as I do? Because I really like this prop tonight.
Not only do I like him, but I think I said exactly the same thing verbatim on a Prize Picks video I just recorded, because when I do the over-unders for Prize Picks in the NFL, NBA as well, the first thing I do is go to Odd Shopper and say, okay, because at Odd Shopper, not only do I have what the books have, the prop, but I also have what our own projections are. So Prize Picks had him at like 23.5 or something outlandish like that. I'm thinking, okay, well, that's a break from the books. And then you look at the books, which is where we're focusing on here specifically, and that's a 16-point difference. So our own metrics, Alex and company's own metrics, have determined that the wind is not that big of a factor. And this is where I maintain that Odd Shopper is doing something for you out there that you probably didn't even know is being done for you. And this is happening a lot in anything like the NFL where wind is or weather is a factor here. The public sees 20 to 30 miles per hour winds, and they read the recap or the preview of a game, what have you, and they think, oh, well, wind. This is what it means. We've gone through everything, not me, but people on site have gone through everything, Ben, and have adjusted accordingly. And still, based on your numbers that you just laid out with Cole Beasley, how dangerous he can be in the quick, short passing game, he's bulletproof to wind. The last person, including Dawson Knox, who I'm going to get to in a second, the last person in the offense that's impacted by any wind is Cole Beasley. This is the best player prop on the board, by all means, over receiving yards.
And what I really don't understand is, to me, it's a two-way street. And what I mean by that is, okay, if you agree that Cole Beasley is unaffected by the wind, that doesn't mean that other players aren't going to be affected. So it should help Cole Beasley in a way, because some of the downfield shots probably are not going to be there. So it's not just like, oh, he should have his normal role and everyone else should be reduced. Those other extra, attempts have to go somewhere. And to me, Cole Beasley could be in line for more than his usual workload in terms of target share tonight. So I'm not saying that Stephon Diggs is going to be a no-show, but right. I do think that Cole Beasley should work underneath nicely tonight. And to me, that's a really good place to start your card. Now, just to prove that I think we're on the right side here, over 3.5 this morning, they had some stale lines that was upwards of plus 130. It's now minus 115. So it's moved over 40 cents. Clearly the over is getting hit. And I think that's because people are realizing that Cole Beasley could be a prominent member of this passing attack tonight.
Yeah, I agree. And again, nothing is changing with Beasley. With Diggs and more so Emmanuel Sanders, it's not going to be as easy to run down the field. And it's not going to be as easy just to get that big play with the wind. You may have to change. You may just have to adjust. There's no adjustment with Beasley. He's there. Now, this is moving back and forth a little bit, and I'm sure this is going to be 3 in a matter of time here, or probably 3.5, which I still don't have a problem because you're going to get a great break. Right now on BetMGM, it's at 2.5 minus 175 over Dawson Knox receptions. That's going to move, we imagine, right at minus 175. It's only a matter of time before it goes to 3.5, but you're probably going to get a nice break on there. I doubt you're going to lay 120 or 110, anything like that. You might get something like plus 100 or even more. We have Dawson Knox projected just under 3 receptions at 2.8. And there is a little volatility in what we've seen, but this is where, honestly, Ben, this is where I will make an adjustment based on wind and say there's a better chance that Dawson Knox goes over his projection based on Awesemo than under, because of the wind, because of the game script, because of the inability to throw as deep. Normally, like we said earlier, 45 degrees out and sunny, you go over that longest field goal. I probably would go under or just stay away Dawson Knox receptions, but same thing applies to a lesser extent with Cole Beasley. I'm going to go over, and I'm going to wait. I'm going to go over 3.5 receptions here. It's a risk play, but I'm going to wait until that moves at 3.5 and bank on the win being the reason why.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of different directions you can go there. You can wait for plus money if you like the over, if you like the under. You can wait and you're going to lay some juice, but you'll get a better number. You could still win. And some of these, there's a prop out there tonight, Jonnu Smith receptions over under 2.5. I really like the under, but it's minus 185. That's some serious juice, but that's where, and I know we're going to talk about this in a little bit, that's where if you're talking same game parlays, I think it's a nice piece, because I'm not looking to lay minus 185, but in conjunction where I know my ticket's going to be plus money already because I'm pairing it with some other things. I think that Jonnu Smith, that line is just straight wrong. Him and Hunter Henry, they're cannibalizing each other a ton. And since Hunter Henry's come back and been a prominent member of this offense and whatnot, or Jonnu Smith, rather, I should say, Hunter Henry is going to garner a lot of that interest. So I just don't know why the books, minus 185 tells the story there, but still, I don't see many ways where Jonnu's able to eclipse that mark. hasn't done a ton. He's got last 4 games targets 2, 2, 2, and 4. It's just not a lot of volume for him. I don't think that changes tonight.
Look, one of the beauties, and I've done this, and we'll talk about this throughout, so long as the NFL season continues here, about taking advantage of the same game parlay on Odd Shopper specifically, is you can create a 3-4 leg parlay in game of just Jonnu Smith, and you can take full advantage of sliders based off of projections to where, let's just say, for example, these are the underplays, right? So you can move it. If we have him projected for 17.9 receiving yards in your same game parlay, you already know from Odd Shopper that we have him projected right at 18. You bump it up because you're playing 3 other legs to under 20.5 or something along those lines. You have a little bit more of means, or you can just keep it straight is and build it. But what I really love about Odd Shopper is I can just take advantage of a guy who's not normally there when you just look at receptions on most books, only in same game parlays, right? You've seen that where certain guys are not available for straight bets. But if you open up the same game parlay part, now all of a sudden they're available. Jonnu Smith is going to be one of those in a lot of books, and therefore you can use Odd Shopper to really benefit.
Yeah, the other guy in that same vein that Odd Shoppers identified is Ramondre Stevenson's receiving yards. Under 15.5. It's the number 1 prop in terms of XROI on the entire board tonight. It's not a prop that a lot of things are going to be standalone, but I think it's an obvious pairing if you're building some fun parlays tonight, and it's pretty simple. Ramondre Stevenson is not the pass catching back. And in the last 2 weeks, he's got 2 targets total. He's just not doing that. They've got other guys that fill that role on this team. And I just don't know why that would change tonight when you've got Harris, you've got some of these other guys, and we'll see. I do want to see if Brandon Bolden is able to go. If he is, I like this even more because Brandon Bolden has been a guy that has caught a ton of passes for New England. He had 4 receptions in that last game. It seems like the path for Stevenson to get opportunities is just not there in the passing game. And that's a good thing for this prop. So that's another easy one I think you can put in if you're building round robins or you're just building some high upside, maybe trying to hit, I know how you roll. I know you like to strike gold and then get that Twitter fame.
Yes. Yeah. Well, at least I'm tagging you and the site.
Hey, that's what we want. You know what? Right. Our Hall of Fame, obviously, for people watching, you may be new to the channel, or you may be loyal Awesemo DFS members. You guys have seen the Hall of Fame segment where we screenshot some of the big wins on the DFS side. The Hall of Fame for betting is coming, and we've seen some submissions already. It's very exciting. If you bet some things and you're watching the show, hit us with the tag at Shander Show, at Jazzraz DFS. We want to know about it. And certainly we're going to get some things up there. You guys can rock some avatars when we get that going. It's going to be a ton of fun. So here we got it on the DFS side. We're certainly going to have that for the betting side. It's very, very exciting.
I'm telling you, man, as soon as I hit that Sean level round robin, it's going to be on. You can just get my bust ready. And
Hall of Fame, baby.
and have it going here. Look, there's a really interesting same game parlay that I just played. I just tailed our buddy Colin Berger here on the chat. And I think the wind again is going to play a big role here. Allen and Jones, 1+ interception, same game parlayed, got me plus 220 back. And, I who was it? Mike here. Awesome. Allen leads the NFL in interceptions the past 5 weeks. And then we also just have a 1, it's a yes or no prop here for Mac Jones, who's dealing with wind, and wind really aids circumstance. Plus 220 for those in return. It wasn't a terrible parlay here for me, especially based off of what Josh Allen has been doing recently and the fact that the wind can mess with anybody.
So I love that. Totally correlated. Well, I'm going to throw one more in there. I think if you're going to do that, you should consider putting the over in there, because if A, there's a lot of passing volume, I think that's a good thing. And B, if there are turnovers, that should equate to potentially short fields, and short fields, of course, are the name of the game if you're trying to get over 40.5. So if you want to keep going and keep pushing it to the limit here, I think you could throw your over in there and hope that both quarterbacks that sometimes make some crucial mistakes and give you some free points.
At no point when we began this show did I ever think down the road that I could throw out, and technically Berger here could throw out a 2-leg parlay, and Ben Ross's response would be, no, wait, add another leg to that parlay.
That's what same game parlays, this is kind of a new thing. Clearly books have, they're doing it for various reasons. We don't need to talk about that really, but
Right.
you're able to do things there's a correlation and you want to explore it. And I think it's pretty clear to me that if there's a lot of turnovers, now it could work the other way. They could drive all the way down the field and throw a pick in the end zone, and that's a killer. But I think for the most part, it ups the variance. And I do want to say, oh, look at this. I was about to answer, and our producer.
See, look at me. I put that in there too. But here's the thing. You and I have had conversations about this off the air. Greg, SJ locking up the New Mexico State, New Mexico battle. Keep in mind, we'll get to that before we get out of here. But I think what's necessary here, Ben, if you can, is not only explaining the round robin. That's definitely something that Nick and maybe others who don't know what it is, but also the warning of playing the round robin. Because I think what a lot of people don't realize is if you play a 6-leg round robin and one of those legs, like your first leg, is out, you've just cut your earnings in half. Like you've cut it in half, depending on if you're playing like a 3+ leg. So it's it's not as easy as like cheating on a parlay as people may seem.
Well, no, it's definitely not easy. Honestly, round robin, what it really is, it's just a time saver. So the way I try to explain it is if you have, say you have 4 bets and you want to make a parlay of them, but you want to do 2-team parlays. So you've got 4 different bets and you want every combination of 2. So I'm just going to do this real quickly. A, B, C, and D. Those are your 4 bets, right? So you're going to do A, B, A, C, A, D, B, C, B, D, C, D. That's very complicated though. Around robin, it captures it all for you. It's going to make those 7 bets immediately and for you. And you can do it with 2 teams or 3 teams, and you're going to get all the permutations. The great side of it, if you happen to hit, as our friend Sean Zahn did, you're going to make a lot of money because you got every combination possible depending on which ones you did. Now, if it doesn't go well, you're going to lose all the different types of combinations, but it's no different than a normal parlay if you were doing it manually. It's just how many different permutations and combinations, I should say, that you want to make. So it's a fun thing to experiment with. I suggest if you haven't done them and you're looking to have some fun, do a couple bucks, with like you pick 3 or 4 or 5 games and you do like 2 or 3 team parlays round robin style. And then you get all these different ones to root for and you can make yourself some money. But just a simplistic way, it saves a lot of time if you're looking to do those things.
What I've done, and you can just jump on if you're not following already at Jazzraz DFS for Ben, at Shader Show for me. I put that up over the weekend where it was an odd shopper special. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll sort NBA bets. I'll shop NBA bets, player props, and then I'll sort, since I'm playing in parlays, not just individual bets, I'll sort by expected win, largest to smallest. And I'll go through, since it's sorted by X win, and I'll take, because you can't go individual in game, I'll take 4 or 5 different player props representing each a different game, and I can throw those into a round robin. So you talk about it's a time saver. Imagine how lazy and really effective when you can marry those 2 terms together here, which is a rarity, where you can be where not only is Odd Shopper doing all the work for you, but then you can put them in the round robin as well. I'm telling you, Odd Shopper makes all of these exotics much easier when you're putting something together.
And right. I'm just going to say real quick, please, because this show, it's a very tight-knit community. We got our loyal fan base. So I'm going to drop a little secret knowledge here. In the very near future on this very show, we are going to have a new feature on Odd Shopper that speaks exactly to this, a little parlay generator style tool. I've seen it behind the scenes. It's awesome. It's a ton of fun. I cannot wait to show you guys. One of the many reasons, if you are new and you think this is interesting, honestly, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the future shows, because this is the kind of stuff I've always envisioned, these tools where people can go on, they can have some fun, they can build the parlays that they want, and they can kind of seize the information and the projections and help them craft some positive expected value bets, hopefully. So we've got some really fun things in the same game parlay neighborhood, that's for sure.
So I can go ahead and build my big ass tower.
That's right, the tower. Can't miss. I'm gonna get college basketball on there. We're gonna be building March Madness tournament. Oh my God, I cannot wait.
first betting show I ever did was the tip off, and Ehrenberg was there, and poor Greg, who's just like embedded in data and numbers and all. I hit him with like this 6-leg Shander Tower that Spags was bragging about. Like, oh yeah, we got this. He's looking at me like, he looked at me like I was crazier than how you look at me on this show, and you're used to my shit.
Hey, it's what it's all about, man. No, like I said, that is going to be a really fun tool.
I can't wait.
It's just such a good time of the year. The last thing, do you have anything else? I'm sorry to cut you off there. Anything else on the game tonight that you want to get to prop style? I think for me, the guys we talked about, Beasley, some of those unders with the peripherals. And for me, the under field goals, I think is a really interesting exotic bet that I never bet, but there's a special circumstance tonight.
No, I'm in. I'm absolutely in on that by all means. I think for sure that's it. We've covered everything from side to total to game props to player props by all means. You want to hit some college before?
I have to say, yeah, I please, if we got a couple minutes here.
We do.
The bowls have dropped. All of these games are now lined, and I am disturbed by what I've seen on some of these spreads. Now, some of these games aren't for 2 or 3 weeks. Some of these lines are outrageous, though. And the one that I was drawn to immediately, I tweeted it out this morning. Kentucky was an underdog to Iowa. And I think you know how I feel about Iowa and how I feel about Kentucky. The spread has already moved 3.5 points in 3 hours. I don't understand. I still like Kentucky at -2.5. I got them at +1 this morning. To me, there's just some games that really don't make sense. Tennessee, 2.5 point favorite against Purdue. I really like that. And there are several others out there. So if there's some games you want us to hit on Thursday and going forward, let us know. We got to see who's sitting. That is a concern. You don't know in bowl games, but there is no doubt that you can lock up serious value if you hit these games sooner rather than later.
Is there anything that you jumped on right away from, because I have 3 look ahead plays in the NFL that I jumped on last night right away that I wanted to be in on looking forward. Did you do that as soon as the lines dropped for anything with the bowl?
Yeah, I bet Kentucky immediately, instantly. I ran to the window. I bet Army against Missouri. That is a team that you have seen up close. Missouri cannot stop the run. They've been better in recent weeks, but Army only runs. They run the triple option, incredibly difficult to prepare for.
Are you laying the 7.5 here against?
So
Navy?
That's against Navy. I'm sorry.
Right.
This is for the bowl game.
No, I know. I just didn't know if you were doing both.
No, because see, the thing about that is it's a little weird to me. Navy practices against the triple option every week, and so does Army, so it's like strength on strength. The over under is a 36 point total. That's what you get when you've got service academies in the mix. Expect a lot of runs. To me, that's just a great game to watch for a lot of reasons. Not a great game to bet, but the bowl games are just, I can't stress enough. If you are willing to lock up some money for a couple weeks, you can really beat these closing lines and steal a ton of value.
Yeah. So I wonder if Army loses, what does that change the line for their bowl?
I hope that, well, I already bet Army, so I guess I don't really care at this point, but yeah, I mean, it is a little awkward that they have a game, but at the same time, to me, Army always is a difficult team to play in a bowl game because Missouri hasn't seen anything like that all year, and it's such a difficult thing to prepare for.
All right, so we had a couple of lock it ups here on the chat. You should always be leaving your lock it up by all means in the chat. We'll get to those. You could also, if you're watching, following the live broadcast, make sure you leave in the comments section after you hit the thumbs up button and you're subscribed. Of course, you're lock it up. And I see Greg SJ asking us if we're going to be betting the Grey Cup. Listen, brother, you put out a play, I'll tail it on the Grey Cup. All right. That's all I got to say. Bills -3, lock it up from Bloomfield. You already know Rasa gave out 2.5. I tailed. We're good in there. Got in early, John Shelton, Bama -13 versus Cincy.
Good number again. So I haven't bet it. I definitely am a Cincinnati fan. I just don't know how they're going to be able to deal with it. That spread has moved to 14. So that's why sharp people jumped on it at 13. You steal that number. I don't like it nearly as much, of course, at 14. We're going to see. We've got a lot of time. They took a big loss there with Mechie. but it is Alabama. And clearly they showed I was completely wrong about Georgia. I don't think that means that Georgia can't beat them when they probably play again, but Bama is just like they always are, ready to go at the right time.
I think we both, and a lot of people, a lot of smarter people than me, equally as smart as you. I think we just overlooked an obvious concept that doesn't really get brought up much in this scenario, which is Georgia did not need that game. There was nothing in Georgia that needed that game, Ben.
Bama just has their number too. You saw it. Georgia. So the thing that was most shocking, and we don't need to go down this wormhole a ton, but the thing that was most shocked about was not that Alabama's great athletes made plays. It was that Georgia had a couple of plays in that game that were busted coverages from the best defense I've seen in a long time. Guys running free where it didn't matter. It was Alabama. Anyone would have scored. And right. I was so stunned to see the miscues like that. Alabama played great, but they also, I mean, Georgia made mistakes that I have absolutely not seen them make the entire year.
All right, real quick, Greg SJ, a trio of plays. New Mexico State over 151 on the hardwood tonight. You like that?
I have absolutely no idea. I will say I have been betting New Mexico State a good amount this year. They're a pretty good team.
App State, Western Kentucky over 67.5, and then over the Pitt Michigan State game at 63. I would go over that one. The Western Kentucky, just be careful when you start to get to those high 60s in these.
Yeah, I mean, so the big thing with the Pitt one is we have no idea if Kenny Pickett is going to play in the game. Pitt's quarterback, he may say, you know what, I've done enough this year. I don't know. If he's there, I like it. If he's not, I don't know who Pitt's, backup is. I saw him a little against Western Michigan, but I don't really remember it.
And Nick's laying the 8, locking it up against Michigan. Michigan is, look, I'm rooting for Georgia. I hope Georgia gets a chance to stuff it down Nick Saban's throat after blowing 2 tickets of mine on Saturday. But Michigan is so damn good against the spread even. I'm not taking a risk on that.
Yeah, I mean, Michigan is playing fantastic. They clearly haven't seen a defense like Georgia's, but I'm not sure how much Georgia has seen a defense like Michigan. It's going to be a great game. I'm not probably going to bet that. We'll see. It's a lot of time between now and then, but very fascinated by that one.
All right. Last one here for the Lock It Up. I love this here from Benjamin. We appreciate this and all of your Lock It Ups. Hit that thumbs up button, please. And really make sure you're subscribed. We have a lot of things happening here from live to on-demand content. Parlay, Patriots money line with Harris, 2+ touchdowns. Now that is completely contrary to the game script, flow, and bets that we put out.
Absolutely. But this is what I like about this. I know this sounds crazy when I'm about to say it. I love that bet. I totally get it. I don't think it's going to win at all. I hope it doesn't. I'll be honest. I'm on the other side. But the way the fellow Ben here has done it, it makes total sense because to me, if the Patriots win the game, it's going to be because of the ground game with Harris specifically. So it makes total sense in terms of building a same game parlay like that. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but to me, it would be illogical if you said like, oh, I'm going to bet the over and then I'm going to bet all the unders on the props. Well, how the hell are they getting the points then? That doesn't make any sense. Patriots money line with Harris scoring twice. That all flows nicely if it happens to happen.
All right, brother. I jumped in December 6th, 2:27 a.m. on the Ravens money line, and I stand by that play right now. I'm going to give you a couple right now. It's at plus 120, so it's moved a little bit, but and I saw Bloomfield first half under, lock it up Thursday night. Wait, when I say wait is because it's at 22.5 right now, and you don't have any alternative half numbers out there. Come as we get closer to this game, you're going to be able to play 23.5. You might even be able to play 24 at minus 130 or 125. It's a better bet, in my opinion, to lay that extra 5 to 10 points with that field goal intact than just the 22.5. I love the first half under, but we'll talk more about that on Thursday's show. So I'm going to give you 3 quick ones here that I'm going to lock up. All right. They're look aheads. They're all connected here. We're going to go Ravens. It's a combo. Ravens money line, and I'm going to take the 2.5. All right. So those are the 2 that I've locked up. I also have gone under 44.5 for Thursday night. I think that's going to dip by the time we get to Thursday. These 2 teams in Minnesota, the disappointing loss to Detroit, and Pittsburgh, the public is going to move this, and I think that's where I'm going to get ahead of the 44.5. And lastly, I don't see it crossing 3, especially if Buffalo I still don't think it crosses through 3, even if Buffalo wins. There's the outside shot that New England wins, and I'm getting even a better value here. But I looked ahead and laid the 3 for the Tampa Bay Bucks at home against the Bills.
There you go. Again, I mean, that's if you think you've got insight into beating the number, that's the goal of every bet you make is closing line value. And maybe you can do that here with some of them. The Thursday night game, you've got the Ravens, got the Bucks. The good thing about the show, we'll be back Thursday, so we can revisit these numbers and see what you've done.
Absolutely.
Have you dug yourself a big hole, or have you secured some big numbers? I can't wait to find out. I'm not going to lie.
I know you can't.
That's
you can't
right.
get out of here, though, without locking something up.
My lock it up is going to be months in advance. The Kentucky line is wrong. I know it's a game, but you're going to hear me say this probably every show until we get there. I don't understand why they opened as dogs. I don't understand why they're only 2.5-point favorites even now. Iowa is not a functioning offense. Kentucky, they don't have big time NFL prospects that I'm overly worried about. I guess there are some guys, but at the same time, I think they're going to be intact. So for tonight, the field goal prop. Under 47.5 longest field goal. I think that's a really good move with the wind. But if you want long-term value, Kentucky Wildcats, my favorite team all year. I've been betting them and I've been shorting Iowa. I don't see why it would change in a month.
Hit that thumbs up button, please. We say this constantly because it's the best way that you can help us. You can repay us for being here, hanging with you. We want to repay you hanging with us. Hit those links below. Go to BetMGM, sign up. You're going to get 3 free months of Awesemo Plus Platinum and a risk-free bet up to $1,000. At JazzRaz DFS, at Shander Show for me, Ben, myself, Mike Awesemo producing. We appreciate all of you hanging. We'll lock it up and see you on Thursday.